people join a membership because they want to become someone. It has to forward the story. Where are those people now, and where do I want them to be? The story takes them. They're telling stories because some marketer told them to tell stories.
Yeah.
And the marketer's not wrong, but they don't usually go that extra mile of instructing you about the intention of your stories and how they fit together, especially in a membership, because that's a long journey. You want someone to stay in your membership. That's not just a front-end acquisition. We are not in the newsletter business. We are in the renewals business. You cannot create desire.
All right. This was I have an AI music thing.
Oh, nice.
I tried to do it in the style of Jeff Beck, I put, but it didn't quite hit it here and there, but I was messing with it. But
a little more AC/DC.
A little more AC/DC. It's funny, I did Ian's and his was, whatchamacallit. He said for a second that he liked metal music or something. I was like, you do? And so I did it for his, and his was like total screamo and everything. He's like, I don't know.
For Ian?
For Ian.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, I don't listen to that kind of metal music. Like, oh, okay.
That's hardcore.
Yeah. Well, we're live. Thanks for hopping on, Doug. And this is the second episode of Dim Sum Ads Hour. And Doug's he's a neighbor, a few cities away.
Right.
We've been friends for, I don't know, 3-4 years now?
3 or 4 years, something like that.
Yeah. And he master copywriter. Anytime I consider myself like, an ads copywriter, things like that. But every time I have a cry for help, I always reach out to Doug, like, hey, what's wrong? And so just a few facts about Doug, just to start it off. He's wrote for oodles of lots of 6 and 7 figure businesses and even 8-figure businesses, and done quite a few launches in the info product space, quite a few launches in the membership space specifically, especially as of recent. You've been getting some killer results there. He's worked with projects with Ray Edwards, Suzanne Peterson, Mike Stelzner,
yeah.
With Social Media Examiner and Social Media Marketing World. Even wrote the emails for Social Media Marketing World for the event there. And he's even done a $7 million launch for someone who I can't say who it is, but he launched, it's a product in the how to launch a membership type of category. So he's definitely an expert in memberships and everything copywriting, and he has a very unique background, and we can kind of get into that some more. So
hey, thanks for having me.
Yeah.
Glad to be here.
Yeah, I guess just I know you've been focusing on memberships as of recently and seeing some great results with that, but how did you get here? Maybe like a 5-10 minute brief story of how you got into copy and how you ended up in memberships.
Sure. Well, I never expected to be in marketing. I was, growing up as a musician, have 4 degrees in music. I'm a sort of old square traditional classical music guy, but I love rock and roll too.
Oh yeah.
So I was actually a university professor of music out in Cincinnati. I have a PhD in composition. I was writing operas for the Kennedy Center and had premieres at Carnegie Hall and did all kinds of cool nerdy classical music stuff. And actually it got me fired from my teaching position, which was a little weird. It's like, wait, I just had an opera at the Kennedy Center and I got the school's name in the Washington Post with a rave review and you're firing me?
Yeah.
Anyway, that's a long story. We'll get into all that. But I was kind of getting disenchanted with academia anyway. So at the time, it was a major, kick in the cojones.
Yeah.
But it was like, looking back, it was a blessing in disguise. So that was like 2015. So I sort of rode the success of my opera for a year as a full-time composer. And then things started to dwindle a little bit, and that's when I pivoted into marketing. It was actually our mastermind buddy, Jade, my brother-in-law, who gave me my first job in marketing. He owned a big direct-to-consumer company, dropship company, and said, hey, we need someone to do some online marketing. Why don't you come work for me and we'll buy you books and courses and teach you marketing. Okay.
All right.
I could write you a symphony about marketing, but marketing, it was almost like a dirty word for me back then.
Oh yeah.
Marketing.
You're gonna sell me.
Yeah, selling. But it's funny. I was telling someone the other day, it's like 9 years of high class college music education. I went to one of the top 10 colleges in the United States for music in Cincinnati.
Yeah.
And not once did we talk about making money. It's like, something's wrong with this.
Yeah, that's fair.
You know?
That's fair.
And I had kids at the time even. It's like, this is not going to work.
Yep.
And then when I was actually a professor, it was like, I'm getting paid peanuts. And I had to have a doctorate for this?
Oh, yeah.
That is ridiculous.
True.
So it ended up being a real blessing. Anyway, so I got into marketing and I got really excited about copywriting. And it seemed like a good transition because it was creative.
Yeah.
I was writing music and now I'm writing words. And it's funny because as a composer, I always was very much a storyteller.
Yeah.
And very much a communicate with the audience kind of guy.
Yep.
Right? Because you got to keep the butts in the seats.
That's
if
true.
People are
Keep them
leaving,
engaged.
right? You got to keep them engaged. And so that transitioned really well into copywriting.
Yeah.
I remember the first time I really kind of like got the whiff of email marketing.
Yep.
I had learned about this guy, Ben Settle, who's a big shot email copy guy. And I was like, whoa, what is this? Because he's like telling these crazy stories and they're working. About that time, my wife started working for an MLM, Norwex, and she's super excited about it because all this green, clean stuff, and she's way into that. I was like, great, go for it, hon, you know?
Yep.
I'm like, hey, I'm learning all this cool stuff with email, and it's working.
Yeah.
Like, we're selling way more stuff now. And like this one product we had was teething tablets for babies who are teething and it's painful.
Huh.
So you give them a little tablet and it's almost like taking a painkiller, but little babies can't take painkillers.
Yeah.
Right. Unless you're in the hospital or something.
Right.
And so these are really helpful, soothing kinds of things. We like quadrupled our sales with like fun story emails.
Yeah.
I was like, whoa, I can like have fun and be creative and make money? That's really cool. And so I said to my wife, well, maybe I can help you with your business with some emails. So I started writing these like fun storytelling emails about cleaning. I mean, we have 6 kids. At the time, I think we had 4 kids, but we're cleaning a lot in our house with all those kids, right? So it was like, I'm just starting to tell these funny stories about our kids and leading them to the cleaning products. In 6 months, we quadrupled our business. Like,
shoot,
man,
that's crazy.
This email stuff's cool. And right about that time, they do a big incentive trip every year, like most MLMs do.
Yeah.
And that year it was to Hawaii. And she's like, we got to earn this trip to Hawaii. She's got it.
We're getting there.
And she had earned her trip and her airfare, and she was close to earning my trip.
Oh, sweet.
And like totally free at the Hard Rock Cafe Resort, all expenses paid, all the meals paid, everything.
Sweet.
Even the flight, right?
Oh, yeah.
It's like, I want to earn your trip too so we can go for free.
Yeah.
And she was about 13,000 in sales away from that mark. And we only had 18 days before the deadline. And so in Ben Settle's newsletter, I was a member. I'm still, all these years later, a monthly newsletter subscriber. He's like the only email guy I listen to anymore.
Yep.
Just like block them all out. He's my man. And he talked about this cool way to do a launch with just email.
Yeah. And
it was all story based. And I thought, let's try this. And I added my own twist on it.
Yeah.
This is the opera composer.
Yeah, right.
It's like, okay, we're going to make a whole soap opera. Russell Brunson talks about the soap opera sequence. Well, we really
made a soap
opera for 18 days of these like hyper intense, like painful stories about our family. My wife's had several near-death experiences. We have all kinds of crazy baby stories. I mean, we got a lot of stories to tell.
Yep.
And her audience are all moms and grandmas.
Yeah.
And they love having baby stories and drama stories and all this stuff. So I'm writing in my wife's voice, and the shtick of it was, help us get the honeymoon we never had.
Oh, nice.
We're going to have the biggest sale we can possibly have, which was a 35% off, because that's what we make, 35% of every product she sells.
Oh, cool.
It's like affiliate marketing kind of a thing, but
yeah,
in the MLM world. So we'll give you 35% off. So we're not going to make any money.
Oh, this is just to
get
make
the points, right?
You're just straight up with, hey, we want to go to Hawaii.
Exactly, because every dollar somebody spends is a point for us. So we need 13,000 points.
That's cool.
So, we built a waiting list, and we had anyway, the deal was for 18 hours on the day before the deadline, we were going to open up this 35% off. 18 hours only. And this was like a legit urgency scarcity, not some like phony course creator saying,
fake,
I only have
online
100
stuff.
spots in my online course. Bullcrap.
Oh yeah.
This was the clock was ticking. We had real, urgency scarcity, and the 18 hours opened up. We got these women so excited through these story emails.
That's awesome.
And everyone would have an open loop for the next day. So they couldn't wait to get the next day. It's like your favorite, it's like Stranger Things where they solve the problem and then another problem happens.
Yep.
You have to watch the next episode, the whole binge TV thing, right? And like some of these were crazy. One of them was like, the second time my husband abandoned me.
Oh, jeez.
Those women were like, what? And it was the second time? And you're still with this idiot?
What are you doing, Doug?
Yeah. And of course, this is me, right?
About yourself.
Because I went to Poland for a year and I had a Fulbright and lived with my family. So like I said, we got a lot of drama stories.
That's great.
But then at the end of the email, we did this funny thing where it's, the problem is solved. Everything's okay. Help us get the honeymoon we never had. Sign up on the waiting list so you don't miss the 35% off sale. It's 18 hours only.
Yep.
Now, luckily that was solved, but that I forget if it was this email or not, but one of the ending emails was like, but that didn't mean that Doug had to have a fight with my birthing coach about circumcision, and we just left him on a cliff like that. I don't remember if that was tied to the abandonment email not,
who knows?
But that was one of the opening loops, and that next day I was an hour late sending the email, and they started emailing us. What happened? I gotta know. Like they were so excited to hear the next thing.
Wild.
Right? So on the last day when the sale opened, they start buying, and by the end of the day, we'd sold just over $13,000, and we got our trip.
Woo!
We went to Maui for
18
like 5 days, all expenses paid for both of us.
That's amazing. At the Hard Rock.
At the Hard Rock.
That's awesome.
And with email.
Yeah. How big was the list? I'm just curious.
At that time, it was only around 3,000 people.
What?
Yeah.
So you pulled in an extra 8 or 13,000 and I'm sure you've been emailing them before that too.
Yeah, for 6 months we'd kind of got them used to storytelling emails and stuff.
Gotcha.
But we made a real thing of it that day, and it was I ended up calling it a melodrama because it was basically like an opera. It was like the Pew family opera, but you had to know what's happening. It's so funny. But it was like, wow, this really worked. So around that time, sorry, my story's getting long. I'll speed up.
Oh, you're good. It's good stuff.
I learned about this guy, Ray Edwards.
Yeah.
And, big master copywriter. He'd written for Tony Robbins and Jack Canfield, Chicken Soup for the Soul guy. He'd written for Rick Sheffrin, all these big names, and got them huge wins.
Nice.
I was on his list, and I really liked him. And it's just, anyway, so I saw he had this big event coming up. It was like a weekend thing. Only 12 people could come. And the headline that for his offer, it was because it was a $5,000 2-day thing.
Yeah.
And I was like, who's going to pay $5,000? I'm still new in this marketing land where now it's like, oh yeah, everybody's doing it.
Yep. Yeah.
But back then it's like, what?
Yep.
But this is the first time that copy pissed me off. So much so that I couldn't sleep for a week. Because the headline of this ad was, do you have the courage to become $1 million copywriter?
Yeah.
And that made me so angry because courage?
Yeah.
I'd been through this weird turmoil of changing careers, and I was down on myself, and I was depressed, and it was like, what does courage have to do with it? I was so pissed.
I don't need to be courageous.
And I deleted it, and then I had to dig in my trash and
what did that say? Yeah.
Then I printed it out.
Oh shoot.
And I'm like marking it, and I was like, oh my god. This was one of those things where like the third bullet on page 4, I kept reading that same bullet. Like that one bullet.
That's crazy.
I had to go to this thing.
Oh man.
I couldn't not go. I didn't have $5,000 sitting around.
Yeah.
So my brother-in-law boss, I convinced him to have the company pay for it.
Yeah.
We'll use this knowledge to help.
Right.
And it helped.
Yeah.
But it was like, I have to go. And it was funny because I got there and I'm like, I'm not going to say a word about me being a musician.
Yeah.
But if you know anything about me, I can't.
You can't help it.
That's who I am.
Yep.
But I was just like, no, I'm not going to control myself. I'm not going to say a thing. 10 minutes into the first session,
Oh boy.
he tells a story about Beethoven,
Oh,
and
toast.
he gets it wrong.
Oh shoot! Yeah, I bet that pissed you off even more.
I had to correct it. I couldn't let one of my heroes turn in his grave because someone told the story wrong.
Oh man.
Well, actually, oh my gosh, then it was out of the bag,
Yep.
and I was like, oh, stupid idiot. But it ended up being amazing because he was like, about an hour later, he's trying to help us all come up with how do you build a copywriting business? What kind of offers can you create so you can actually make $1 million a year?
Yeah.
I still haven't hit that point, but I learned a ton from him. And he said, all of a sudden, in the middle of the thing, he's like, if I were a professional composer becoming a copywriter,
Yeah.
I would say things like, I'll write you symphonies of copy and overtures of ads. And I was like, whoa, wait a minute. Maybe I can combine these ideas.
Absolutely.
And he just kind of opened up this vision, and then it was like, okay. And that afternoon, he has a really great book on copy called How to Write Copy That Sells.
Oh, cool.
Excellent book.
Yeah.
I highly recommend it to anybody. And that afternoon, after the thing was over, I sat at the restaurant for 3 hours, Red Robin in Spokane, Washington, and I'm going to write a book.
Yep.
And it's going to be patterned after Ray's, but it's going to be called The Symphonic Copywriter. And anyway, I never ended up publishing it, but I just
That's a good name.
On this tear.
Oh, right on.
Of I can do this. Anyway, it was the first time I believed that I could really. Anyway, so I was on Ray's radar, and about 6 months later, he hired me to be his copywriter.
And he offered, he reached out to you and was like, hey, do you want to?
Well, I had come to a couple other things, and we started talking a lot.
Oh, cool.
And I can't remember exactly how it came about, but it was, I'd done a couple projects. He's like, hey, I've got this client. I don't really write copy for people anymore because I'm too expensive.
Yeah, he's a chief,
copy
chief.
He's a chief, yeah. So he's like, but, this person dropped out. I need some help. Could you write some emails?
Yep.
And I went, well, okay, could you write some more emails? And it just started to, and then he's like, would you want to come on full time?
Yeah.
Yeah, great. And suddenly I had a 6-figure a year income.
It's amazing.
Writing copy.
Oh, yeah.
For
right off the bat.
And for about 18, 20 months, maybe most of 2 years, I think.
Sure.
I was basically Ray Edwards. I wrote almost every email to his list from him.
That's crazy.
And several sales pages. It even got to the point where we created products together.
Yeah.
And it was always his material, but I was helping with curriculum ideas because I have experience teaching at universities and coming up with my own curriculum.
Oh, totally.
So it wasn't like we were actually creating the courses together. It was more like, here's the stuff. Now you organize it.
Yep.
And we launched a big year-long coaching certification, copywriter certification program of his material. And I organized it into this big 12-month coaching program. I coached all the coaches. And
oh, wow.
It was a big deal. It made quite a lot of money too. And, that was the first time I helped bring in over $1 million a year for a business.
Totally.
Now, a lot of that was in place already because Ray was, up and running, but I was very much integrated into that.
Yeah.
And it was just really, really eye-opening and awesome. It gave me a huge jump start.
Yeah.
And that's how I ended up working with Mike Stelzner because he and Ray are buddies.
Yeah, I'm sure.
And so, he's like, hey, do you got a copywriter I can work with? And so this is several years ago. I haven't worked with them for a long time, but
yeah,
it really got me connected with some great stuff. And even our former mutual client, the Vrainses, our artist client.
Yeah.
I met them through a Ray Edwards event.
I thought that was a ClickFunnels event. No, it was Ray Edwards.
That was later. We went to a ClickFunnels together. But
gotcha.
Yeah, he did one of these weekend things he had 5 spots. He's like, come for the weekend.
Yeah.
We will write your sales letter and your launch emails together so that on Monday you can go home and launch this to your list and make money.
Huh.
And so Jennifer Vrains, our painter friend, she came to that event.
Oh, cool.
That's where we met the first time.
I didn't know.
December 2019.
That's awesome.
And she'd been making really good money as just a painter and selling her paintings and had collectors all over the world, like Mariah Carey buys her paintings and stuff. Steve Young.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, wow, she's big time.
Yeah, that's awesome.
But she's like, I've been thinking I want to teach this.
Yeah.
Do you think I could teach painting? So I asked her, I was like, well, tell me about your process. Have you ever taught anybody? Oh yeah, just last week at my church, we had this ladies meeting for like all the moms, and there were 50 ladies there, and I taught them all how to paint a landscape of some trees, and everybody finished in an hour and a half. Yeah, I think you can teach this. Yeah. And I think you could launch this. So and that weekend, Ray got super sick. He has Parkinson's.
Oh, okay.
And occasionally it would just hit him and he couldn't do anything.
Yeah.
And that weekend, I think I ended up running about 80% of the workshop myself, because the poor guy he couldn't function.
Yeah.
It was heartbreaking, really.
Yeah.
But in a sense, it was a really cool experience, because I got to like
really be in the
baptism
weeds.
By fire. Yeah. I got to make this work for these people.
Right.
And then we met Jen, and so I've been working with them since.
That's amazing.
And I helped start their business from scratch. They won several 2 Comma Club awards now. They have a fantastic membership, which I helped them launch.
Oh yeah.
It's growing. It's like, so I don't know where I'd be had I not met and worked with Ray. Ray just really helped me become who I am, and we're still pals and love the guy. Yeah, we have a good relationship, and I owe him quite a lot.
That's awesome. It seems like there's like a 3-way connect between, you have a music background for composition, things like that, as well as education, as well as now marketing, and you're working with a lot of membership or info product space type of owners who are looking for that.
And over the last couple of years, I seem to have worked with quite a lot of artists and musicians. Which kind of makes sense.
It does.
Like, I get what they do. Right? And it's like, I've never been good in like the financial markets.
Sure.
I don't know anything about investing.
Yeah, right.
I should, but I don't. Economics in college is like, I'll be playing with the orchestra. You guys, right. You guys learn economics. Typical musician, I guess. But I've tried. But I really struggle in like the classic copywriting markets of like alternative health and finance. Like,
that's
not
true.
My area.
Oh yeah.
But these creative niches, teaching grandmas how to paint.
Yeah.
And we had a mutual client, Joe Sikora, an online piano teacher.
Oh yeah.
I remember it was funny because he and I are both big Ben Settle guys. He's another total Ben Settle.
Yep.
And we're both on his list. And Ben had this funny thing where he lets you run a classified ad to his list.
Huh.
And he's done it every year since. But I was in the very first year. You probably heard of this copywriter, Daniel Throssell. Have you heard of him?
I have,
Big
actually.
shot.
Yeah.
He got launched because of this classified ad on Ben's list.
That's
we
amazing.
Actually bought the first 2 tickets to like run a classified ad on Ben's list.
That's nuts.
And mine, I got a little bit of interest. He got like, whoa, crazy amount of interest. And he's built this. I'm nowhere close to Daniel Throssell, but I met him a little bit online and stuff.
Sure.
But that classified, Joe saw it. And he's like, wait a minute. This guy's a professional copywriter and a professional musician.
Talks my lingo.
I got to work with this guy.
Yep.
He said, I'm not ready. I don't have the money. But he had me in mind for 2 years.
Really?
And then contacted me out of the blue. And it's like, I need a copywriter. I saw you on Ben's thing 2 years ago. Let's work together.
That's crazy.
It's just cool how the worlds collided.
Yeah.
So I've had a few other clients like that. But that's kind of my space. It's like helping people who are experts at something, but it's not like the run-of-the-mill marketer teaching marketers about marketing.
That's fair.
I'm kind of tired of that.
Yeah. I think most of the online world is.
Yeah. So finding these other pockets of really excited people, like with Jen Vrains. I mean, these are retired women who are empty nesters, and they want an artistic hobby.
Yeah.
And they have money, and they want to do something. They're very passionate about stuff.
Yeah.
And that is so much more fun for me.
Oh yeah.
Because it's not this, again, marketers selling
corporate
marketing
world,
to marketing, not corporate,
yeah.
and it's not even about business for them. It's about joy and fulfillment. And that's I love that. That's a super good mix. Yeah, for me.
That's cool. Would you say, like, as far as like storytelling and ads, I know you can do it for any niche really, but would you say the response is better in more of those creative niches than it is to like, or I guess maybe that's the wrong question.
No, that's a good question. I from my experience, storytelling is great in every niche.
Yeah.
Sometimes I think it does work maybe a little better in these heavy marketing niches
Yeah.
because people tend to lean towards sell, 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 sell,
Yeah.
sell,
Yeah.
sell.
Yeah.
And so it's refreshing when
Yep.
somebody tells an actual good story in a marketing lane,
Yep.
you know. At the same time, it's just much easier in, say, a hobby niche
Yeah.
to
That's
just
fair.
fall into storytelling because it's kind of where the space they're in already,
True.
you know.
Yep.
So I don't know that it's harder or easier or performs better one or the other. I'm not really sure. I don't have any data on that.
Yeah.
But just from my experience, I mean, I love a good story.
Yeah.
Everybody loves a good story. There's that book Wired for Story. We're all just like wired for stories.
Yep.
Right? And my mentor now, David Garfinkel, he actually wrote a book about this a couple years ago called The Persuasion Story Code.
Oh yeah.
And how to use micro stories in your marketing instead of trying to do a huge hero's journey
Drawn
story,
out.
which it's too long.
Yeah, it's a movie.
It's a movie.
Yep.
And it has its place.
Yeah.
You know, like if you're doing a big Russell Brunson event or something and you use the hero's journey over 4 days, okay.
Fantastic.
Fantastic,
Yep.
right? Or if you're writing an opera for the Kennedy Center, you use the hero's journey.
Right.
But in a single email, there's no time.
Yeah, no one's...
So that's David's whole thing is these micro persuasion stories. And he's like codified this series of stories. There's 25 of them, and they're all in the book. And he and I actually are turning that into a course together and sort of in partnership. It's kind of like with Ray. It's like it's totally his material, and I'm helping him organize it and record the videos and stuff. But
Very cool.
yeah, story. Everyone's kind of talking about story nowadays.
Yeah.
So I think people are finally catching on. But sometimes the problem is people are telling stories for the sake of telling a story.
Not
right?
for the sake of interweaving it with
Yeah, it's like
a purpose.
right. And I think there's much more. I don't know if we want to get into that now or
Yeah.
okay. Yeah. So storytelling in this membership land, course creator land, coaching land.
Yeah.
It's crucial, but it has to connect. Right? It's gotta connect the dots. So I find that the best kinds of ways of thinking about telling stories is, first of all, a way to build relationships. I mean, what did we do when we just got on this podcast today? We told stories.
Yeah, it's
right?
true.
To get to know each other.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember the first time we met. It was Costa Vida or something.
Yeah, I remember
and
that.
we just tell stories. Oh, you know him. Okay,
Yep.
that's how we talk in stories.
Yep.
And so to have some kind of like contrived story just to have a story in your email, that's not how humans work.
Yeah.
It needs to be natural.
Yeah.
And it needs to connect the dots. It's got to be a bridge between the hook and the call to action.
Cool.
Right?
Cool.
So like, I could give some examples, but yeah, storytelling, it's so important. Again, sometimes there's different types of stories for different scenarios. Like if you're in a launch and you really have a tight timeline, you're going to want to tell different stories than if you're just doing a regular broadcast email that's outside of a serious launch,
Yeah.
because the purpose is different.
Yeah.
So it's like taking a story based on the purpose of where you are. It's, to use a musical example, think of The Little Mermaid.
Sure.
So The Little Mermaid, classic Disney film,
Oh yeah.
which actually like resurrected Disney's animation studio.
Is that right?
Because they're doing all these crummy ones. Have you ever seen The Black Cauldron?
No, never.
It's terrible.
Not worth seeing.
No, it's like the late 80s, like Disney going
Yeah.
way down. And so they're like, we got to fix this. We got to get back to the heyday of like Snow White and Cinderella
yeah.
and Sleeping Beauty, right?
Yep.
And so they hired this new songwriting team who had made it big on Broadway. Alan Menken and Howard Ashman. They had done, I'm going to forget the name now. They did this big musical. It's kind of a rock musical on Broadway, and it'll come to me in a minute. So they're like, let's get these guys because they're great storytellers.
Yep.
And so they brought them in, and they decided to do Little Mermaid. Howard Ashman, the lyricist, was really brilliant with storytelling. So to give you an example, when you're in a big story like that, and there's songs, so a musical or a movie musical like a Disney movie,
Yep.
the songs have to forward the story.
Right.
This is my contention about some of these modern animated movies with songs
Yep.
is that they don't move the story ahead.
It's just kind of out of
It's
out
just
of place.
It's the song for a song.
Yep.
Take the movie Encanto. I don't know if you saw Encanto. It's a
I haven't, but
Latin American based Disney film.
Cool.
A lot of fun stuff.
yeah.
But most of the songs are just songs for songs. They don't forward the story.
Yeah.
Little Mermaid, take the moment where she loses her fins and takes legs.
Right.
She has to give up her voice. She wants to become a human, right? So when the song starts, she's a mermaid.
Yeah.
When the song ends, she's a human without a voice.
Transformation in the
Transformation
song.
in this, exactly.
Yep.
That's the kind of storytelling that you need to do in your marketing.
That's cool.
It specifically moves the journey of the prospect forward.
Huh.
And that changes depending on where they are, their awareness of what you do. Are they new on your list? Like, you would tell a different story in a welcome sequence to new people who just got on your list
True.
than you would to your club members who've been with you for 5 years.
Yeah. Yeah.
Totally different awareness level.
Totally different.
Right? But it has to forward the story. Where are those people now, and where do I want them to be? And the story takes them there.
That totally makes sense. And my first copywriting coach, his name was Michael Clendenin, but he was coached by one of the Halbert brothers, advertising. And he always said the same thing. I remember I was trying to come up with my first webinar back in 2021 or 2022 and stuff like that. And I remember I was showcasing a lot of proof and everything. And he's like, that's great and all, Travis, but like it's not engaging at all. He's like, you got to intertwine your teaching moments with like a story, and like not just saying, hey, I got this client from this to this by doing this. It's like you got to, hit some of the pains of the client's shoes and things like that. But that's a good reminder to always interweave, the education with the marketing, with the story.
Yeah. Another example. Did you ever see the movie Ray? About Ray Charles with Jamie, what's his name?
I'll need to see it.
Jamie Foxx.
I love those types
fantastic.
of
biopics.
Yeah.
He won the Academy Award for Best Actor for this movie.
Oh, cool.
For playing Ray Charles.
Sweet.
And the cool thing about Jamie Foxx is he has a degree in piano.
Does he really?
Yeah.
What? I had no clue.
He played everything.
That's amazing.
He was Ray Charles.
Ripping.
In fact, there's this funny interview when they decided they were doing the film. Ray Charles was still alive.
Oh.
And he wanted to meet Jamie Foxx.
That's amazing.
Like, I got to meet this cat who's playing.
Yeah.
And Ray Charles is doing this thing. Like, I got to meet this cat. So he brings him in. And then, Jamie Foxx is like,
this is a legend.
This is my idol. Oh, it's so great to meet you, Mr. Charles. Don't call me, just call me Ray. Man.
Just call me Ray, brother.
Now, nobody can play Ray if you can't play the blues.
Yeah.
You can't play the blues. So let's play the blues.
Right.
Oh my gosh.
Yep.
The pressure to sit down the first time you meet Ray Charles and play the blues with him. And so Jamie Foxx is like, they're playing the blues. And it's going pretty good.
Nice.
And this one moment he hits a note and Ray goes, no, why would you do that?
What? That's not the blues.
But like, he's like, all right, you can do this. So anyway, so there's this great, sorry, that was a total tangent.
No, it was great.
There's a great scene in that movie because he's out on tour and he's trying to expand his market.
Yeah.
And he starts very like gospel oriented. He turns gospel into rock and roll and got a lot of flack for it.
Oh yeah.
But then they're touring the South. This is still in Jim Crow days. There's a lot of racial tension and stuff.
Oh sure.
But he tells the band, I want to play this country song. I'm like, we don't play country. What are you talking about? That's kind of how I feel about country.
Yeah,
music.
that's fair.
But he says, this is the really insightful part. He's like, yeah, but anyway, after the concert is what happened. They play. He just play it. We're just gonna play it and see what happens.
Yeah.
And the audience just loved it. So they're sitting around after. Why did that work so well?
Huh.
He said, it's the stories, man.
It's a story.
There's a story.
Yeah.
It's not about the style of music. It's about the story.
Ah, that's fair.
I mean, think of a great song, even in classic rock, like Hotel California.
Sure.
There's not a word in that story that's not part that song that's not part of a story.
Oh yeah.
The whole thing.
Really
the
paints
opening
a picture.
line, on a dark desert highway.
Oh yeah.
Cool wind in my hair.
Straight out of a book, like right?
It's,
like,
you're in the story.
Yep.
Yeah. You can check out anytime you like.
Yeah.
But you can't never leave. And then the guitar solo, right? There's like intention behind the structure of the song, behind when the solo comes in,
Yeah.
because of the story. That's not a normally structured song.
Yeah.
Normally, a song has verse, chorus, verse, solo,
bridge,
maybe bridge, and there's some variation on that, right?
Yeah.
Pre-chorus, there's various things you can do.
Yeah.
That is not how Hotel California
That's
works.
true. That is a good point.
The solo's at the end.
It goes like on and on too. It's a pretty lengthy song,
story.
But it's a great story.
Take Bohemian Rhapsody.
Oh.
We're still not sure what the story's about.
Oh yeah, no.
But it's a story. That's how you get away with a 6-minute song and make it a huge hit.
And make it a mix of like rock music with like
Opera?
classical and opera and
Scaramouche,
Yeah.
the fandango. It's got everything in
It really does.
Yeah, but that's why it works, is because there's a story.
Yeah.
Mama just killed a man. That's a story.
What?
That's the
Yeah.
opening line. How can you stop listening?
That's fair.
And then when it comes back at the end, any way the wind blows, right? The story comes to a close. I could give 100 more examples. The Beatles, A Day in the Life.
Oh yeah.
The Beach Boys. I wish they could all be California girls. Like, it's stories.
Dang.
But it's the intention behind the story. It's not just any old story for any old reason. It's got to be intention based.
Yeah.
So like the emails with my wife's thing when we got to Maui, remember the whole core of that was give us the honeymoon we never had.
Oh yeah.
So we tell stories about our marriage and about our family.
Yep.
That these women have experienced something like that, and the stories landed like lightning.
Dang.
Because of the connection to what we were doing. So that's really one of the biggest mistakes I see with people who are trying to build a membership, because boy, memberships and recurring revenue, that's like one of the wonders of the world.
Oh,
If you can get that working,
Everyone wants it.
Oh my gosh, that's like the holy grail.
Oh yeah.
And it's amazing to wake up on the first of the month and have this huge chunk of cash show up in your bank account.
And it's like a software company where it's like probably margins are killer, right?
No,
It's not a physical product or
Totally.
But yeah.
But that's a big issue, is they're telling stories because some marketer told them to tell stories.
Yeah.
And the marketer's not wrong, but they don't usually go that extra mile of instructing you about the intention of your stories and how they fit together, especially in a membership, because that's a long journey.
Yeah.
You want someone to stay in your membership. That's not just a front-end acquisition.
Yeah.
This is meant to be long-term. How does Netflix survive? Not on the front end.
Not on the front end.
By repeat sales.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? So, yeah, anyway, this is why I have this 23 reasons why memberships fail, because there's a lot.
Yeah, I'm sure.
I could add more, but it was getting kind of long, so I stopped there. But like the first one on my list is no persuasion stories.
Yeah.
In other words, no stories with a specific intent. A second one is the sales letter falls flat.
Okay.
And then and I have a solution for that. I call it my hit song sales letter.
Right on.
It shouldn't surprise you. Being
Yeah,
a musician.
right.
But then the third one is what we were just talking about, which is that people often think about their membership as acquiring people.
Right.
But it's not. And this comes from the great Gary Bencivenga, so I did not come up with this. But
yeah,
in his retirement seminar, he said this thing that just has really stuck with me. And actually, I think he was quoting somebody else. I can't remember who, but he was talking about financial newsletters at the time.
Okay.
Boardroom or Agora,
Oh,
selling
yeah.
these investment newsletters, which they still do.
Yeah.
And his thing was, we are not in the newsletter business. We are in the renewals business.
Love that.
That's where it's at.
Yeah.
You're not just in, I have a membership, come join it.
Yeah.
You're going to lose money on the first month anyway.
Anyways, yeah, you got to give them the stick.
It's the renewals. It's the stick plan.
Yep.
Exactly. Yeah. So, yeah, whether you call it a stick plan or renewals or whatever, you got to have retention. You got to get them to stay.
Yep.
So not having a retention plan and not thinking about your membership as renewals, that's a huge mistake.
So how do people, maybe we could take the reins or another example, one of your clients, but how does someone, like, what are some ways to improve that? Like a lot of people, like where do they get it wrong with being able to get people on renewals in their membership, and where can they get it right?
Yeah, a couple places. So, boy, where to start? I could go a bunch of directions. Well, let's start at the beginning. Sometimes people bring in people to a membership too soon.
Okay.
And you know this as an ads person, it's really hard to sell a membership to cold traffic
Oh yeah.
because there's a trust issue.
Yeah.
Right, you're not going to just marry somebody the first day you meet him, and joining a membership is kind of like that because it's recurring.
Well, and ever since streaming platforms, I think people have gotten more and more angry at like, it used to be one time and now it's yeah.
Well, now all the software companies do it, Microsoft Word even.
Yep. Oh yeah.
Even in the music land, there's some notation softwares on a monthly basis. Like, give me a break.
Yep.
But of course, they're doing it because it's the ninth wonder of the world.
It's the way to go. Yeah.
To have recurring revenue.
Yeah.
So they do. But so on the front end, typically like they're so excited to get somebody in that they go right for it.
Okay.
But there needs to be some nurture.
Okay.
Right. There needs to be a dating period of like, this is what we do here.
Yeah.
Right. So let's take my business. I guess I have two businesses. I have my copywriting business, which is mostly a service business. But then I have my music business. In my music business, I teach mostly grandmas how to write church music.
It's amazing.
And it's so fun. I love it. It's very fulfilling as a musician and as a church person and as a marketer.
Oh,
so
yeah.
It's fun. And I get to like practice techniques of marketing that I then use with my clients.
Cool.
Which is really fun. It's pretty rare to have your copywriter also be an offer owner.
That
well,
I feel like that is, yeah.
It's pretty uncommon. So there's a lot of, typically when I'm pitching a new client or we're talking about working together, that's one of the things that seals the deal is that I'm shoulder to shoulder with them running a course membership business too.
It's like you're not just doing it for clients, you're putting your own money on the line, you're doing it in the trenches.
I'm in the trenches.
Makes sense. Yeah.
Right? So in my business, I have a membership, but it's never the first thing I talk about.
Right.
I get them in with interesting free content about this is, like the church that I'm in, they're releasing a new hymnal.
Yeah.
It's taking several years and it's going to take several more, but there's a lot of excitement about this new hymnal. And every once in a while, they'll drop 10 or 12 or 15 new hymns. Everybody freaks out. There's no hymn.
No one knows how to sing it at church.
No one knows how to sing it. There's all these arguments in the Facebook groups about, they're stupid for releasing this hymn. No, they're wonderful for releasing this hymn.
It causes drama with it.
Which is great for marketing.
Oh, yeah.
It gets a lot of attention.
Yep.
So, I have a lot of content where I'm talking about those and it gets their interest.
Nice.
Oh, I like what this guy's saying, right? I mean, this seems like it should be obvious and everybody talks about doing this, but a lot of people just don't do it.
Yep.
They're too eager to get people into the membership that they don't take the time to nurture. And it's such a mistake because if you truly believe you're in the renewals business, you have to think about that from the beginning. And you have to plant the seeds of longevity from the beginning.
And so does that mean you're talking about as far as like action items for that is like create lead magnets?
Lead magnets.
Free content.
Sometimes free content on YouTube.
Gotcha.
Mine was a blog. I first started a blog several years ago. And I was busy working for Ray Edwards and I didn't really have time to build a YouTube channel or anything. So I was like, I'll put out a daily blog post. And I'll pick a hymn every day. And at that time it was like, we didn't know which hymns were going to get cut out of the old hymn book.
So you're like getting...
So mine was, who's on the chopping block?
Yep.
This hymn sucks. For these 10 reasons, I predict it's going to be gone. And some people are so mad at me.
So mad.
But that's my favorite hymn.
That's why I joined your church.
Yeah. So that grew me a list. But it got people to like, okay, I have this woman. Her name is Margie. She's been on my list since I started that blog.
Nice.
Which was like 2018.
Nice.
And
5 years or so.
Two years ago, she purchased for the first time.
Wow.
She's been on my list since 2018. We're in 2025.
Yeah.
So what is that?
It's like 5 years or something.
Live math is not good. Yeah, 5 years.
Yeah.
4 or 5 years. She's on my list. She told me, I read every one of your emails.
That's
I don't think
nuts.
I've missed a single one. And this is really big. She says, I've learned to trust you.
Huh.
Now, that's going to be different for everybody.
Yeah.
Some people are going to trust really quick and sometimes to their cost, right?
Sure.
They're a little gullible,
Yep.
right? Some people, they just take more persuading and some people are too afraid. They don't believe they can do it yet, but they're interested. That was her.
Huh.
She's like, I would love to know how to write music, but I am so far away from, I can hardly play the hymns.
Yeah.
Like she plays the organ at her church, but she practices 20 hours a week.
Sheesh.
Just to be able to play them correctly on Sunday.
Dang.
She's really dedicated.
Super devoted. Yeah.
So she finally, I was doing this promotion. I write daily emails
Yeah.
in this business, and they're very value driven, but I'm always selling something. And I was selling this harmony course, like how to learn all your chords in 12 weeks.
Cool.
Like usually you go to school for 40 years to learn all these chords.
Yeah.
But I'm going to give them to you in 12 weeks.
12 weeks.
Right?
Fantastic.
Okay. So she's like, I think I'm ready. So she signs up. She was so nervous. She did awesome. She did really great. Then at the end of that, she's like, I really feel like I learned something. What's next? And Margie, you are ready to write your first song. No way. Music doesn't come to me. No way. I can't write music. I'm like, Margie, I've been teaching this stuff for 20 years. With what you know now, you have everything you need to write a song.
Yeah.
You just need a little instruction about how to do it and a little hand holding. So come to my 8-week workshop. I have this 8-week songwriting workshop. It's like my flagship course.
Sure.
Where they come in totally blank. We write lyrics, we write the melody, we write the chords, and we write a piano part.
Huh.
And by the end of the 8 weeks, their song is done. I've never once had a student not finish that.
Wow.
Now, this is in a day and age when consumption numbers for courses are way down.
Oh,
it's
yeah.
like 2 or 3% of people who buy a course actually watch it.
Yeah, I would even say lower.
Maybe less.
Yeah.
I mean, all these course people like Course Creator Pro and on and on.
Oh, yeah.
They all say this, and it's because it's true.
Yeah.
There's this glut of information, and we tend to buy it because we love the dream of it. And
Yeah.
I'm just as guilty as anybody.
Oh, same
but
here.
not a single person has not finished a song in my 5 years of doing this workshop.
That's crazy. What? How many people have gone through?
Well, it's only like 5 or 6 at a time.
Yeah.
And I'll do 3 to 5 of these a year. So it's not huge amounts of
Hey,
people.
but that's still amazing.
But
Yeah.
it's very consistent.
Yeah.
And there's other reasons for that. And I think it's because it's a workshop situation instead of on your own. So there's
DIY.
a real incentive because I'm with them twice a week.
Oh, cool.
Writing together.
Yeah.
Where I'm checking their work and stuff. So
These
like
ladies have
with the
time.
expert.
And,
Right.
Yeah.
So that's really one of the big reasons.
Cool.
But back to the topic we're talking about is I still haven't invited them to my membership. Not until after that do I say, hey, you did really well here.
Yeah.
We do more of this in the membership. We meet every Friday, and every month I put out some content like a melody of the month and a chord progression of the month, and we study these things together. I have 4 pieces of content I put out every month.
Yep.
But see, by that point, they're in.
Yeah.
And I have this crazy high retention rate in there because I waited
Yeah.
until they were ready
Huh.
to come in.
Yep.
It's like when I married my wife back in 2003, the thing we said to each other was, we are never getting divorced.
Yeah.
We will figure out how to solve the problem. Like we made this promise to each other and we really meant it.
Yeah.
Now it's been almost 22 years this May. We started with longevity in mind. It's like that old thing from the what's that famous book by Stephen Covey?
7 Effective Habit.
Something like that.
Something
I
like
forget
that.
the name. Someone's
Yep.
going to go, you guys are so stupid.
Yeah.
7 Habits of Highly Effective People.
That's what I think. That's what it is. Yeah.
One of them is begin with the end in mind.
Okay. Yeah.
People who have recurring revenue model, memberships, whatever,
Yep.
need to begin with the end in mind. And the end is the renewal. It's the long-term journey.
Yep.
And people join a membership because they want to become someone. So let's go to Jen Brains and her artist club.
Sure.
It's called the Let's Dabble Club. When we launched their business, so this was January of 2020, we met in December of 19.
Yep.
She's like, I think I'm going to do this. I'm going to put a course together. Will you help me launch it? So I wrote the sales copy for it. They didn't have a list, so we didn't write any emails.
Yeah.
We launched to cold traffic on Facebook ads.
Yep.
We had a webinar.
Cool.
And they were like, we're not just going to run our webinar once a week. We're going to run it twice a week.
Twice a
so
week.
they did the Russell Brunson thing,
man.
but on an offset 7-day cycle. So it was twice a week. And for 6 months, they did that every week. They
That's awesome.
didn't miss. And
Wow.
the webinar got better and better and better. And we're right at the beginning, I said to them, you're going to need a membership because these people are going to love the paintings that you're teaching them so much, they're going to want more.
Yeah.
Jen's like, no. We're just gonna have this one course. People are gonna paint it and they'll be happy. They're not gonna want anything else.
Yep.
Fine. Okay.
All right.
4 weeks later, all these women finished the 5 paintings that they bought. and they're emailing, what's next?
What's next?
We want some more, right? And it's like, told you, membership.
It's great when the customer asks and you don't have to
Yeah.
really, you know.
I didn't go, told you so.
Yeah.
I wanted to, but I have since. Just because we're good friends. But it was like, okay. But they were primed.
Yeah.
They had had an experience themselves. They had succeeded.
Yeah.
They believed they could do it because they'd done it.
Yeah.
Right? It's like that Harry Potter book 3. It's like he didn't know he could cast the Patronus, but he cast it because he'd gone back in time and seen himself cast. I'm a Harry Potter.
Yeah.
Sorry if I'm not making any sense. It was like he knew he could do it because he saw himself do it.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
That's the whole point. So these women, they knew they could paint because they did it. And now they're ready for the next thing and they're hungry.
That makes total sense. My mom used to say the same. She's a piano teacher and she's like, before when she was getting her piano pedagogy degree and had to perform in college and stuff, and she's like, I'd always just visualize the piano even though I didn't have it in front of me, and then it would help her focus before she would get there. And
for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah, it's kind of back to the Gary Halbert thing. We were talking about Halbert before, but this whole thing, I don't know, I lost my train of thought.
My bad.
Senior moment. I'm going to be 45, I guess, but yeah, I'm not that senior. I totally lost it. Anyway, but yeah, memberships and preparing people for things. It's really important. You got to believe it. And once you believe that you can do this, then you hunger. Oh, that's where I was going. A hungry crowd. Right. Gary Halbert would always do this thing at his seminars. He's like, all right, I bet you I can outsell all of you. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to pretend that we're all going into the hot dog business. We're all going to buy hot dog stands.
Right.
And I'm going to outsell you all for one reason. But I'm not going to tell you what it is yet. I'm going to let you have your wish. Like, what's the one thing you wish your hot dog stand could have that you think is going to make it sell well?
Cool.
The best meat. Nope. The best placement. Nope. The best thing. Like, he said, nope. He finally like a hungry crowd.
Oh, literally a hungry crowd.
Right? So that's what happens if you have some stage of getting them hungry.
Yeah.
So that you don't have to sell. It sells itself. That's a good membership.
That's super cool.
Right? These women who come to my songwriting workshop, when they're done, they are holding the pages of their own song.
Yeah.
It's proof that they can do this. And we even have a little Zoom recital.
Right.
Where we get together and I play their songs and their family comes and they're just like,
that's
oh my
awesome.
gosh, you know? And like they have physical evidence that they're songwriters.
Nice.
They believe.
Oh, yeah.
Now it's about becoming a songwriter.
Nice.
With Jen, her people, it's about becoming a real artist.
Oh, that's super cool.
It's the identity.
The identity.
You cannot shove somebody into an identity.
Yeah.
You have to get them to want it.
Yeah.
It's the old Eugene Schwartz thing of you cannot create desire in somebody. That's like fascism.
Yeah. Yeah, you're forcing it on them, right?
It on.
You can't do that.
It's
impossible.
You cannot make me like rap.
Right.
You can try. It's not going to work.
Let me show you Notorious B.I.G.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm glad you like it.
Yeah.
It does nothing for me. And that's okay, right?
Yep.
But so all you can do is channel their desire. So with Jen's people, these are women. It's like, you got to study them so well that you can hear the music playing in their mind.
Yeah.
And you can hear the music in their heart. Then you can harmonize with it. Right? As a marketer, you can write messaging that harmonizes with their music. You can't write your own marketing music and expect them to like it.
Yeah.
That's like trying to force me to like rap.
Yeah.
It's never going to happen. But if you understand their desires, you can channel it. So take my music business.
Sure.
Why would a 70-year-old woman who can hardly play the hymns on the piano, why would she ever believe she could write a song? Why would she ever want to write a song?
Right.
It's kind of hard. And I had to dig for it. And it took me a while.
Yeah.
But I figured it out. And it was, what do they really care about? What do they wake up in the morning freaked out about?
Huh.
They do not wake up in the morning going, oh, if I only had a cooler chord to fix my chorus. Now I wake up and stuff.
Yeah, I was like, I bet you wish they woke up like that.
Right? They wake up going, what am I going to do about my grandkids who don't believe in God?
Huh? Yeah. They get nervous about that.
They're so worried about that.
Yeah.
And they feel that so deep in their soul that like they envision a future when they see themselves passing away and meeting their maker and having to answer for what they did or did not do with their offspring.
Huh.
That scares them.
Yeah.
That's primal. That's like lizard brain. I will do whatever I have to.
Yeah.
Right. But it's hard because how do you, like, let's say you're a Christian and you raised your kids Christian and they grow up and become adults and decide this isn't for me and they leave.
Oh, yeah. It's like something that you're so passionate and love, and then it's like, I wish they had, you know.
And you can't force your desire on them.
Yeah. Yep.
When it comes to religion and politics, good luck forcing
Good luck.
on it. We know this, right? But then they're worried about, well, my son is no longer going to church, so what's going to happen to his kids?
Yeah.
And the worry gets worse.
Yeah.
And they can't talk to their son about it because they'll be pissed off. Mom, don't. I'm a grown up. You can't make me go to church anymore. Right? What do you do?
Yeah.
So I had this one woman. Her name's Latricia. She's like, I would write these emails like, what's the legacy you're going to leave for your family? Will they know that you believe in God? How will they know?
Yeah.
You could write them a letter.
Yeah.
But what if you wrote a song and you put a bit of your belief into the fabric of your song? Because music has a magical way of creating a situation where you can feel something.
Oh, yeah.
Now, you can't force feeling on people, but you can create situations where feelings can be had.
Totally.
Right?
Yep.
This is why I was a very successful composer, because I can, like with my opera, I can take them on an emotional journey from the first note to the last note.
That's awesome.
Because with the notes, I can create an emotional atmosphere. It's up to them if they feel it or not.
Yeah.
But they did. They did feel it. I mean, Ruth Bader Ginsburg came to my opera premiere at the John F. Kennedy Center.
It's insane.
Gave me a standing ovation with the rest of the crowd 2 nights in a row.
That's awesome.
But it's like, that's the magic, is channeling their desire. So back to Latricia.
Yeah.
Latricia's son is no longer a believer, and he's got these 2 little boys, and she's so worried about them. And so she's reading these emails of mine. She's like, maybe that's the way that I could share my belief without offending my son, without getting in an argument, but give those little boys a way to feel something.
Yeah.
So she wrote a song, and she had this amazing experience where she, like at Christmas time or something, she was visiting and she taught her 2 grandsons the song. And they loved it. And she came back a few months later and they remembered it.
Oh.
And they sang it back to her.
Oh, man. That's got to mean a lot. Yeah.
That changed her. That changed her whole life.
That's so cool.
So now songwriting is an easy sell.
Yeah.
Because the story I told, back to storytelling, connected her deep desire to my offer.
Which wasn't just learning music, and it was about something a lot more than that.
A lot more. It was about an eternal relationship, for lack of a better, like belief in God. That's what it was about.
Totally.
But I'm teaching them how to write notes on manuscript paper, and
Right.
how to write a 5/7 chord, and how to resolve a German augmented 6 chord. But I'm not really teaching them that. I'm teaching how to help their grandkids connect to God.
That's so cool. Yeah.
That's where this stuff works. So if you're just launching a membership because everybody else says launch a membership, you might succeed, but the gold, the diamond, the acre of diamonds you're standing on is in a deeper emotional place.
Yeah.
And it's in identity, especially with a long-term membership. You want to help people become someone. So this whole, and we've talked about a bunch of things here. Let me just try to encapsulate it in a clear kind of pipeline here.
Sure.
The end goal for us is to have this amazing recurring revenue with lots of members in it, so that we're secure financially and people are happy with the stuff we give them. But that takes a while to get there. We start by tapping their interest, and at some point, there's various ways to do it, But at some point, some vehicle gets them to start believing that they can become something that they want to become.
Cool.
And by becoming that thing, it fulfills that deep desire.
Nice.
And then the membership becomes the vehicle for them to create that identity in themselves.
Nice.
That's true if you're buying supplements.
Yep.
Because you want to have a healthy heart and you need to have this collagen supplement or whatever. I don't even know if that's a thing. Or if you're buying financial newsletters,
yep.
you want to make sure your estate is in good standing when you pass so that your family will be taken care of.
Mm-hmm.
Those are deep things.
Yeah.
Right? So that's what you got to find. You got to take the time to discover that and know your market and find the stories that need to be told that bridge the gap from interest to belief to identity.
I love that. And I feel like the only way to get there is, like you said, you have to take the time to get to know your people versus just, you can write emails and talk about whatever you want for as long as you want. But if, you're not getting that two-way conversation, it's like, you'll never know who's actually on your list and what they care about.
Right. It's so true. And it's like any great band. You know?
True.
There's the funny story, amazing story really about the first time Led Zeppelin played. They, two of the guys knew each other and the other two guys knew each other. Jimmy Page and John Paul Jones knew each other because they were studio musicians. And John Bonham and Robert Plant knew each other because they were in a blues band together up in Northern England. And Jimmy Page is looking for a new band because the Yardbirds had quit and he had the rights to the Yardbirds and he was going to start the new Yardbirds. And he wanted Keith Moon to be his drummer, but Keith's like, it's going to go over like a Led Zeppelin. I'm out.
Yeah.
Led Zeppelin?
It's like, thank you. Name.
Yeah. So he hears about this screaming blues singer, Robert Plant. He goes see him at a show and like, this is the guy.
Yep.
He was 18 years old. The PA system went out halfway through the show and he starts screaming over it and you could hear him.
Oh, shoot.
Over John Bonham's drumming, which is like the biggest tree trunk drummer you could ever find. So we got to work with these guys. So they get together for a jam session. Electricity. First time they played together. But they weren't a band yet.
Huh.
It was the first time.
Yeah.
It took years to they can know what the next person's going to do. You can smell it coming. John Paul Jones is about to do this riff on his bass because you've been playing together for years.
Yeah, there's that chemistry.
It's the chemistry. It takes time.
Yeah.
And so I think people jump in sometimes too quick.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean you shouldn't be thinking about membership from the beginning. You should.
Yeah.
But if you don't go through the appropriate steps to verify that you've figured out what's going on in the desire of your potential customer, it's going to flop.
Yeah, makes total sense. So going on more of the mistakes of like, what would you say, like, and maybe I know you have 23, but what would you say like the next biggest mistake goes as far as these membership offer owners?
It is kind of hard to rank them, but a biggie is a weak sales letter. The sales letter, sales letters are there for lots of different reasons in lots of different businesses.
Yeah.
But when it comes to a membership, this is like the portal to look through for what identity I could have in the future.
Right.
That the window is the sales letter.
Yep.
You have to cast this vision that we've nurtured them to a point where there's enough belief that they've tried some things. They've made some micro commitments. Now, maybe they've even made a semi-big commitment, like my lady's joining a workshop.
Sure.
But that's a one-time thing.
Yeah.
This is a much bigger commitment because it's long-term.
Yeah.
So the sales letter, probably 90%, maybe more of membership sales letters that I see, they pretty much just like, here's what you get every month.
Yeah.
Okay. But how does that change my
who
identity?
I am. Yeah.
How does that transform me?
Yeah.
Right. So that's a biggie. Is the sales letter is not doing the job of the song in Little Mermaid, of taking them from where they are to a new person by the end of the song.
Yeah.
So that's why I call my sales letter formula hit song sales letter. Because it takes you from state A to state B. And so in that, well, should I go over some of this?
Yeah, I was
now?
about to ask.
Okay.
I'm curious on like kind of the flow that you have for that.
Yeah. So, and of course, since it's musical, I have musical steps to go with this. But the way I think of it is there's these psychological bells that we have to ring.
Sure.
And there's a lot of people who teach building blocks of sales letters, and most of them are pretty good and they're pretty consistent.
Yep.
But what about the underlying psychological triggers? What are those bells that we have to ring that get them to really
Perk up, start
perk
listening.
up?
Yep.
Yeah. So I'll run through these fairly quickly here because I know I talk a lot. So number one, and they all have a song title. Number one is "It Don't Mean a Thing If It Ain't Got That Swing." Old George Gershwin song.
Oh yeah.
And by this I mean, really, if you don't have the one big belief that you're trying to help them portray and see, nothing else matters. So if you don't have that right, the big idea, what's the one dominant emotion, as Clayton Makepeace would always call it, stop, because it's just not going to work.
Cool.
So number one, it don't mean a thing if it ain't got that swing. Big idea. Number two, a whole new world. A whole new world.
Right.
Back to Howard Ashman and Alan Menken.
Yep.
This, that's Aladdin, but that it needs to be something fresh. You need to portray a new world that they didn't expect.
Right.
They could be part of.
Cool.
Right? Like my student Margie, never in a million years did she think she could be a songwriter.
Yeah.
Now she's written like a dozen songs and they're beautiful.
Yeah.
And she's like, this just yesterday, actually, she wrote me this email. Words cannot describe how much you've changed my life and what a blessing this is that I am a songwriter. Like, it just has completely changed her. It's a new world.
That's awesome.
All right. Number three, come on, baby, light my fire. Which is this urgent problem. We have to light this fire of, I have an urgent problem that needs to be solved.
Right.
With my students, it's save my grandchildren.
Yeah.
And their belief in God.
Yep.
Right. With Jen and painting, it's, I don't know who I am anymore. I raised kids. Now they're gone.
All this time.
My husband's playing golf and ignoring me.
Yeah.
I don't know who I am anymore.
Gotcha.
It's it's not about painting. It's about identity.
Yeah.
Right. So we have to light that fire. That channels their desire. Psychological bell number 4 from U2. I still haven't found what I'm looking for.
Oh yeah.
Right. And this is proving it. So we got their attention with the big idea. We got their interest with this whole new world. We got them emotionally charged with light my fire and their urgent problem.
Yep.
But then logic kicks in. It's like, is this really going to work?
BS radar. Yep.
Yeah, BS radar. Yeah, we got to prove it.
Yep.
All right, that's number 4. Number 5, and there's a lot of ways to prove it. We won't get into all that. Number 5, like a bridge over troubled water. Objections.
Oh,
right?
okay.
There's like, wait a minute. I've failed before. I'm not sure I can do this. That's the main objection that this one does. There's trouble. I need a bridge over troubled water.
Oh, I like that.
Thank you, Simon and Garfunkel.
Yeah.
And lately, Jacob Collier, who just won a Grammy for his version of that song,
I
which is
saw it,
incredible.
which is crazy. He's up there with some of the pop stars like Taylor Swift and everything, but his music is way crazier.
We could have a whole other podcast
Anyways,
about him.
yeah.
He's the first British musician to ever win a Grammy for the first 5 of his albums. Not even the Beatles did that.
Yeah. Well, none of his albums have ever ranked, I think he said, or something like
Right.
that. And then he won it. Yeah.
That says something.
Yep.
Yeah. Anyway, so we have to justify their failures.
Yeah.
It's okay that you didn't know how to write a song.
Yeah.
It's all right. I got you.
Yep.
Right? That's number 5. Number 6, hot-blooded.
Yeah.
Check it and see. And we get them hot-blooded by throwing rocks at their enemies.
Oh, cool.
Like, it was my piano teacher when I was a kid who slapped my knuckles with the ruler that made me never think I could be a musician. Got to get their blood boiling.
Totally.
Right? Number 7, comfortably numb. Thank you, Pink Floyd.
Oh, yeah.
Right? This is where, inertia is a big deal. To get someone to change, to get somebody out of their chair on Sunday afternoon when they just want to eat Cheetos and watch football is hard. That's this inertia. So they're comfortably numb.
Oh, okay.
People
That
are
makes
comfortably
sense.
numb. They don't want to change. They don't want to do the hard work.
They're comfortable and they're,
Yeah.
You know.
It's like a pig in a sty. I don't want to leave. I like rolling around in this crap.
Right.
So you have to raise the stakes
Yep.
to get them out of that comfortably numb situation.
Cool.
Number 8, Jimi Hendrix, are you experienced?
Oh, yeah.
This is building rapport with them. They need to see. So it's kind of back to proof a little bit, but more specifically, what's the credibility here with you?
Yeah.
Because some proof is like, well, it worked for so-and-so, so it can work for you. But now it's like, but I'm the expert here. I got to prove this. That's why in my stories, I weave in that I had a Carnegie Hall debut or that I wrote an opera for the Kennedy Center. I don't come out with it. I say, I learned the most amazing thing. It was the debut of my opera at the Kennedy Center. And the opera is about autism. And the Kennedy Center, holy crap. But then that's not the point of the story at all. I slipped it in. It builds rapport. It adds credibility. But then the story, because one of the main characters on stage, his son was autistic in real life.
Oh, okay.
This guy had performed with Placido Domingo and Luciano Pavarotti, but he comes to me at a rehearsal and says, never in my 25-year career have I been able to be part of an opera that had something to do with my life. Because the main character is autistic and his son's autistic.
Wow.
And he's like crying to me.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Opera singers don't cry.
Oh, okay.
They're tough. But we had a dad moment and he broke down. So like when I tell that story, I did two big things. I snuck in my intense credentials.
Oh, yeah.
But I explained that it was about something much more than my credentials.
Yeah.
That takes the "are you experienced" idea through the roof.
I think a lot of people get that wrong, even for myself too. But I think because if you just come in hot with all of these things, it can come off arrogant or like your bro marketer type deal. But if you just slip it in like that, then it's just like kind of like unintentionally. Yeah.
Well, and it's also, some people call it a humble brag, I guess, but it's not even really that.
Yeah.
To me, it's about giving value.
Yeah.
Right? Because we're all walking around thinking, what's in it for me?
Yeah, for sure.
The nicest person is still thinking,
oh yeah,
what's in it for me? Especially when it comes to buying something. Right?
Yeah.
So they need that, like that story I just told, what's in it for them? Not some guy shouting about, well, I wrote an opera for the Kennedy Center, so I'm really good. You should study from me.
Yep.
No, I demonstrated in that story that there's more to this.
Yeah.
And I told a story that added value to their life.
Right.
Right. And that's like, oh.
Versus just yapping at them.
Exactly.
Or, yeah.
Gary Bensivenga, another one of his, is make your advertising itself valuable.
Huh.
There's a lot of ways to do that. But a story like that in an ad, that's really valuable to them because they see, wait, I could make a connection like that.
Yeah.
Maybe maybe I could do that.
Yep.
That's the kind of thing that makes you save the ad. It makes it valuable.
Totally.
Right?
Absolutely.
But at the same time, I built credibility.
That's cool. That's cool.
That's a strong connection. Okay, number 9. Whole lot of shaking going on. This is where you demonstrate the mechanism.
Oh, nice.
Right? When you're
shaking your booty.
Showing the booty. Look at my booty, right?
Yep.
So it's like, how does this thing work, right? So you have to be able to demonstrate the mechanism. So like for Jen's membership, I get really specific about how each of her little techniques make painting 10 times easier. And how even if you have arthritis, this won't hurt you because you don't even hardly need any dexterity or hand strength the way she teaches you how to hold the palette knife.
Oh, right on.
So we're demonstrating how this works and how it makes that emotional connection. We look under the hood, right?
Yep. For like a course creator or coach, that could come in the means of like, maybe you show like, hey, once you sign up, here's what it looks like type deal.
That's
and like,
one
here's
way.
Okay.
Another way is the bullets.
The bullets. Okay.
Fascination bullets. But again, a lot of people get their fascination bullets wrong. They slip into features instead of benefits.
Yep.
Right. So to really demonstrate your mechanism, you have to dimensionalize the benefit. So let's say that my course, my songwriting workshop, the number one benefit is you're going to have a finished song at the end.
Cool.
But then I dimensionalize that by taking it to different situations. So that means at your family reunion this summer, you're going to be able to have a musical activity together and you wrote the song.
And you wrote the song.
And you get to teach to all your kids. What's that going to be like?
Yeah.
Or when your child has when your grandkid has a baptism and they say, we want to sing a song. What should we sing? How about grandma's song? Right? So we take the main benefit and we show how it benefits them in all these additional ways.
Sounds like stories too, but like these short bullet stories, you know?
You can do that in a bullet.
Yep.
Yeah, you can help people
awesome.
see. There's a great ad by David Deutsch about estate planning of all the boring things you could possibly imagine, where almost every bullet is a story.
Oh,
it's like
nice.
so fascinating. And I hate stuff like that.
Oh, yeah.
But the way he does that, I mean, who wants to think about estate
I know,
planning
right?
and taxes? Nobody. Right? Well, maybe some accountants. But
Yeah, maybe. But
anyway, number 10 psychological bell is Start Me Up. That's a great song by the Rolling Stones.
Nice.
And that is just the more practical, well, how do I get started?
Okay.
And additionally, like, what's the roadmap look like?
Oh, okay.
Okay. So I need to know how this is going to work. Otherwise, I'm signing up for something I don't understand.
Cool.
Number 11, possibly the most important. When you wish upon a star. Right? There's a story.
Yep.
First line of a song, it's a story. Right? Because we need to lay the future at their feet.
Yeah.
So when you wish upon a star, when you believe that you can write your song and you come in, this is what it's going to be like. This is what you're going to experience. And so for a membership, that's even more important because they need to see a roadmap. They need to see the mile markers on this journey. It's like trying to drive from Los Angeles to New York. If you don't have a GPS or a roadmap,
Good luck.
you might get there someday.
Yep.
But you need to know where the stops are, right?
Yeah.
So that's really crucial for a membership because, again, remember, it's identity.
Cool.
How am I actually going to get there?
Yep.
Well, first I'm going to write this kind of song, and then we're going to do this, and then we're going to do this, and then you're going to repeat this, and you're going to, right? So we have to cast that clear vision. Then lastly, Tom Petty, free falling. You want to get back into the letter and make sure you have this nice, smooth transitions from section to section to section instead of these abrupt changes.
Smoothing it out.
It needs to
Nice.
smooth out so there's not a bunch of speed bumps. It's like, you write your song, you write your lyrics. Okay, you got a bridge, you got a chorus, you got a verse, but then they have to connect.
Yeah.
They have to be in the same key.
Yep.
The chord has to go to the right chord. Otherwise, it doesn't make any sense.
Yep.
Same thing here. So it's more like an editing principle. But those are the 12 psychological bells that we ring to get a nice, good hit song sales letter.
That's super useful. I know when I first got into copy and marketing, I just heard all the time hook, story, offer, which did help me in the beginning. And
it's true.
And it's true. And they all fall, but it's nice to get like a, I guess, more in-depth approach of like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, because it's like layers.
Yeah.
There's the tactical step by step of the writing of the sales letter.
Sure.
Then you got to be able to zoom out 30,000 feet to the top layer to see, this whole section is really the hook.
Yeah.
Because I got their attention. I kept their attention. I awoken their attention even more so they can't stop reading.
Yep.
Until the point where I get to the meat, and that's the story. But in a sales letter, that includes the offer, the bullets, the guarantee, all this stuff. And then, hook, story, offer. Then there's the rest of the offer, So it's a bigger picture thing.
Yeah.
Now, hook, story, offer on a small scale for, say, an email or for like ad copy for a Facebook ad or something.
Sure.
That's a little easier to wrap our head around because it's immediate.
Totally.
But it's hard to see in a long sales letter.
Yeah.
This is why I find these little psychological bells are really helpful because I have to take them on the journey from start to finish, just like Little Mermaid getting her legs.
Yep. Well, very cool. So I guess to kind of wrap things up, like, correct me if I'm wrong, but where you see most people screw up with memberships is sometimes they might not be ready because they don't have the stick rate to get them on renewals or for them a reason to stay on the membership, or
which is usually because they don't really understand the identity they're trying to help their people create.
Identity. Gotcha. That makes sense.
Once you understand that, then you're like, I can put things in place that help. We have to basically resell them all the time.
Yeah. Yep.
And if you don't know what you're reselling them to become, it's really hard to do.
And what's the easiest way, I guess, in your opinion, to understand their identity?
It's twofold. Number one, you have to know where they want to be. You have to know what their end result looks like.
Cool.
And then you need to get to know them.
Yeah.
And it's just, there's no shortcut.
For yourself, what do you do to do that?
A lot
for
of
clients or for
daily emails a biggie for that one because I am opening up myself to them and they get to know me, and as long as it's valuable and they get something out of it, they start replying.
Cool.
They start telling me stuff and I ask.
Yeah.
And this is another reason why I like to do live workshops, because I get
to see
real
them.
people
Yep.
in person and I ask questions. I don't just show up and teach. I am really cognizant about How did this make sense? Did this come through? Did that work for you? How could, what are you feeling about this? Are you all this stuff? Oh, that information is everything.
Yep.
And I really want to have that experience with them before I ask them to commit to a long term.
Nice. Cool. Well, good stuff. If you want to learn more about memberships or follow Doug on probably Facebook or
my website, dougpughcopywriting.com.
Cool. Mm-hmm. Everything memberships or courses, info products, copy in general. He's worked on probably most projects that you can think of.
Well, and I've got this little freebie if anybody wants it. I will put a link in the show notes.
Yep.
It's my 23 reasons that memberships tend to fail.
Right on.
So you can keep your eye on those.
Very cool. And last question, just before we hop off, I'm just always curious in the AI world of marketers and stuff like that, but how are you mainly using AI in your copywriting and marketing?
I've been using it to, when I have a new client,
Sure.
I always want to talk to their clients.
Totally.
So I'll have an interview, I'll listen back, I'll record, and I'm having AI do a lot of analysis of that for me.
Oh, sweet.
To like pick out things I'm missing. What are some of the triggers? So that's one way.
Cool.
Another way is like just last week, I'm putting together a new VSL for a client, and they really love how this other guy's VSL works.
Sure.
So it's like helping me analyze that guy's, why it's working so well, and then plugging in the stuff we do and coming up with a shape and what are the points that we need to hit and the structure. That's very helpful.
Yeah.
So that kind of research stuff really speeds things up. Also, hooks. One of my clients, we're pumping out all these video ad scripts for YouTube and Facebook and stuff because we're really going hard on the cold traffic. And, we're talking about the same thing over and over and over again.
Yeah.
So how do I come up? So, we'll take a pain point. What's a strong pain point and what's a couple of good hooks? And I'll plug that in to Claude. I like Claude a lot.
Yeah.
And like, give me 100 more hooks on this. And, it'll give me 40 that are pretty darn good.
Nice.
And
you can
then
I'll
work off of that and go deeper. So yeah, I find that you're only as good as what you can do with what AI gives you.
As a tool versus a crutch.
and it's not that AI can't do amazing. It does amazing things.
Yeah.
If you can get it to do amazing things.
Yeah.
But you usually can't get it to do something that surpasses what you know.
Cool.
Or at least in my experience.
No, I same mentality there. Yeah.
But it certainly can speed things up.
Yeah.
And it can certainly point to things that you may have missed, like in a logic flow. I'm very creative. I'm not an attorney. I don't have that kind of brain like an attorney that's going to say,
like step one,
you're missing this point in the logical argument.
Yep,
I don't always see that.
Yep.
But AI does.
That's cool.
And I'm like, this is where they are. This is where I want them to get. This is the emotion I'm trying to take them through. What am I missing?
Cool.
That's really helpful. So those are generally what I'm using AI for. But trying to learn more.
Yeah.
For a while, I felt really behind because I was kind of like, not sure.
Yeah. Well, and AI has come a long way.
It has come a long way. And my mentor is running one of the owners of an AI business. And so it's like, he's brought me around. It's like, okay, I'm seeing this. So yeah, I'm using it every day.
Cool. Right on. Well, good stuff. Well, thanks for hopping on.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.